If you've played the game for long enough, then you will be familiar with and probably would have worked with one of, if not both of these drills. So the circle drill, which of course equates the the club motion to a circular pattern, almost baseball style, and also that really kind of intuitive analogy of squaring the face using a topspin forehand. And the reason you'll be familiar with those is because pretty much every coach on the planet uses those drills, myself included. But not Pete Cowen, and not when working with elite players. He would hate those drills, especially the tennis racket forehand. And the reason he'd hate those is because they utilize something that he would call outside rotation, which is another one of those kind of weird Cowenisms that we're going to delve into today and see if we can understand what is outside rotation and how we can do a better job of putting more pressure on the ball through impact and also keeping the club stable for longer. Now for Cowen, this is a big deal. And it's a big deal because, as always, his whole ethos is around pressure on the shaft, stable club face through impact. And you'll remember, in his model, it isn't the body that opens and the arms whip through later. It is the drive of the arms, that downwards pressure, that then causes the body to open up. So understanding outward rotation is a big thing. So outward rotation is, in Cowen's model, this motion. You can see as I'm swinging through the ball, I'm squaring the club up with what he would say would be the outside muscles of the arm and shoulder, akin to a kind of heavy topspin motion in tennis, or as he mentions in his DVD, the kind of rotating of a ball drill, this kind of thing. It'll square the club face up, but it doesn't have many of the other benefits that you get from the opposite move. So what is the opposite move? What is the opposite to outward rotation? Inward rotation? Well, we are familiar with his spinning the right arm down. So if outward rotation is this motion, the arm climbing over, inward rotation then would be using these muscles in the forearm to rotate the club back to square, keeping the elbow intact, not letting it come off us, and keeping the right wrist extended. That's his spinning the right arm down. But there's more to it than that. It's not just about how we square the club. Cowen also sees that motion as a way of applying force in that direction and thus putting pressure on the ball. So when he talks about his inward rotation, he also talks about how the shoulder is moving through the ball and applying that pressure on the ball. And he kind of makes movements like this, driving through the ball in that direction. So it's not just down and at the ball, it's down and through. And that motion of down and through in his mind would then also create the opening up motion of the left side. So the left side is opening because the right arm is driving down, we have inward rotation and this motion forwards of the arm causing the right side to come through and the left side to move out the way. So that idea of outward versus inside rotation is far more than squaring the club. It is the whole pattern, if you like, is built around vertical force, so pulling the arms down into the ground and then pushing the ball in that direction, if you like, getting the right shoulder and the arm moving through to open up the left side. Now, if you're relatively new to the game, you just want to get your body turning through as best you can. But at the higher end of the game, you want to be getting some of these other benefits: pressure on the ball, low point forwards, stable club face, controlling the loft, etc. Now, that sense of outward versus inward rotation, I think, is probably even more than what's happening with the arm. And one of my favourite examples of this is Scottie Scheffler, actually. So I probably doesn't think about it in the same way as Cowen. I don't know if they've ever met. But you can see in his motion, he works really hard to keep the club from spinning out and hitting those shots to the left. So if I were to sort of turn through and get my shoulders turning this way, you can see that is outwards rotation, isn't it? It's this motion. And in Scheffler's swing, he has that pull down of the arms, squares the club face, but works so hard to not let the outside rotation happen. As we mentioned in a previous video, he gets the back foot pulling behind him in order to kind of counter the force of the body. So he's doing everything he can not to get this motion, but in fact to square the club up with very much inward rotation and that kind of bowler's torque of the right foot moving behind him. That would be inward rotation as opposed to outwards rotation. So then, drills we can do to try and encourage that sense of inward rotation are, well, firstly the Cowen drill with the forearms. I've got to get this right. That would be that way. So we're rotating the forearms inwards, keeping the elbows intact. That's in a previous video. I'll put that in the playlist. And then trying to take that down into the ball. So that feeling of the right arm driving downwards, keeping the elbow intact, and crucially, and this is a big part of the inwards rotation, down and pushing forwards past your front foot, which is this motion. So we could even take our tennis racket motion, which we agreed at the start was not his thing. It wouldn't be his thing with heavy topspin. The arms coming off as outward rotation. But if we got the arm dropping down and turning in and pushing past the ball in that manner, that would be very much for him inwards rotation and causing the left side to react, push up and move out of the way. So it's down, it's a turn in of the arm, and it's a push in that direction, which is different to this motion. And if you're a regular on the channel, then you'll know I was quite fond of actually hitting balls in a Scottie Scheffler-esque manner with your feet. So if you hit a few three-quarter shots and try and square the face while pulling this foot back behind you, that really is the essence of inwards rotation. There's definitely not going to be this motion here, is there? So you've got to drive the club past that front foot while you're using the back foot to counter that twist. I should definitely play like that. Thinking about it, actually, my swing is built heavily on outwards rotation. Maybe there's something in this. To me, that is such an interesting concept, and certainly one that I've been exploring more in my game and in my coaching. Now, if you have enjoyed this series on Pete Cowen, he's such a visionary, but doesn't always explain things in an easily digestible manner. So I've made a playlist link down below on explaining Pete Cowen concepts. If you want to work with me, remember we can have lessons online. Come and join me on one of my trips. But before I see you next time on the channel, keep practicing and good luck. Play well.